My allowance was given to me daily. Mom demanded I check in every day, or I wouldn't get any money. I was starving. Poorly dressed. Couldn't even afford sanitary pads. And the check-in rules meant I couldn't even work a part-time job. With nowhere left to turn, I decided to sell my body and soul to become a rich man's kept woman. Another little French fry reminds you, the novel Bamboo Green Check-in is about to begin. Didn't I tell you? 3 check-ins a day at the library? You only checked in twice today. So no allowance tomorrow. And of course, this month's full attendance bonus is gone. My mom's voice on the phone was stern and calm, leaving no room for argument. I quickly calculated, I still owed $12 and didn't have a penny. When you're under someone's roof, you have to bow your head. I had no right to argue. So I tried to explain. Mom, I went to the library with my roommate. You saw the picture, right? I sent you the selfie of us both, with the library entrance in the background. Just like you asked. But she fainted this afternoon from anemia. And I took her to the hospital. That's why there's no picture from tonight. She scoffed. How do I know you're not lying? You probably just didn't want to study and went off to play. I tried to control my emotions. Mom, I have her hospital registration, medical records, and payment receipts. I can send you pictures. Shut up, she yelled, raising her voice. Even if it's true, does that mean you can skip studying and not go to the library? What does your roommate fainting have to do with you? Aren't you afraid of getting stuck with her by taking her to the hospital? Why do you have to be so helpful? Besides, how much time did you lose? Who cares if you're behind on your studies? I'm not asking her for compensation. And that's good enough. You tell me. Before she could launch into another long lecture, I cut her off. Okay. Mom. I get it. No allowance tomorrow. No full attendance this month. Okay. I got it. I need to go memorize vocabulary. Goodbye. I hung up. She sent a text, memorize vocabulary. You must follow my strict method, write the English translation on a blank paper. Then write the vocabulary word from memory while recording a video to prove you're not copying. At least 30 words. No check-in. And you won't get the day after tomorrow's allowance either. Allowance. 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 I had reached the point where seeing those 3 words made me physically ill. She sent another message, I remember where you left off. Continue from there in the vocabulary book. If you dare to trick me with words you've memorized before, you won't get any allowance this month. I typed for a long time. Ready to argue. To curse. Every kind of profanity in various languages. But in the end, I deleted it all and typed got it. After the call, I walked from the hallway back to my dorm room. I really wanted to lie down. I had been sitting in the library for most of the day and running around all afternoon. I was so tired. But if I didn't memorize vocabulary, I would starve. I stood there for a long time. Then finally resigned myself and started memorizing words. I was a donkey being whipped, with no choice but to move forward. My mom held my neck with those 3 words, allowance. She made me do whatever she wanted. I wondered when the whip lashing me from behind would finally stop. Before college started, my mom gave me a piece of paper. An A4 sheet with something called University Allowance Usage Guidelines printed on it. Or the guidelines for short. Unlike many college students, My allowance was given daily. Every evening. If I hadn't violated the guidelines, she would give me the next day's allowance. But if I violated them, the consequence was having money deducted. Like today. Today, I violated the first rule: go to the library to study 3 times a day on days without classes and check in to prove you're not slacking off. Check-in methods. Upon arrival, take a selfie with the library entrance as the background. During study, take a picture of your desk and a selfie with the desk as the background. Reporting your study content in detail. Upon leaving, take a picture of the library entrance from inside the library. And after the photo, record a video. The video content should be the photos taken, followed by opening a browser and searching for world clock to prove you haven't been playing tricks with time or slacking off. On days without classes, you need to check in every hour at the library. The check-in method is, I'll say a command. You write it on paper and hold it up for a photo. If you don't miss a single check-in for a whole month, you get a full attendance bonus for that month. There were many other bizarre rules like this in the guidelines. You'd think with such strict conditions, the allowance would be generous. Maybe thousands of dollars. Right? However, my daily allowance was $20. This was the result of her meticulous calculations. According to her plan: breakfast, 1 bun, 1 egg, 1 cup of soy milk. $3. Filling and nutritious. Lunch and dinner, eat at the poverty window. $4 for 3 dishes and a soup. The idea was beautiful, but the actual implementation had major problems. I didn't like buns. I didn't want to eat buns every morning. But besides buns, there really wasn't any staple food for $1. The meat dish at the poverty window was always fatty pork belly. 70% fat. 30% lean. I couldn't eat fatty meat. I'd vomit after 1 bite. I could only eat vegetables. But the vegetables were always just bok choy and spinach. Bland and utterly devoid of oil. As for the free soup, it was no different from plain water. I've studied it carefully. My plan is perfect. This way, you only need $11 a day to eat well and be full. The remaining $9 is more than enough for water, washing, and buying fruit. You can even save money for study materials and books. You'll live very comfortably, she said. Our university was in the suburbs. Buying fruit usually meant relying on the campus supermarket. Apples here were sold individually for $8 each. Buy it or don't. I really didn't know how I was supposed to live comfortably on a $600 monthly allowance. And that was assuming I didn't violate any rules or get money deducted. If I diligently checked in at the library for a whole month, how much would the full attendance bonus be? $3 a day. So I'd get $90. That was a huge sum. I was constantly hungry. Constantly not eating well. Either I ate 3 terrible, filling meals, or 1 good meal and then starved for 2. Fruit and snacks were completely out of the question. In just over 2 months since school started, my 5-foot 5-inch frame had dwindled to 83 pounds. I tried to fight back. I reasoned with her. Told her about the prices at school. Showed her how little food the poverty window offered. Showed her my weight. But all my words turned into a single phrase for her: I don't have money for your enjoyment. But it's certainly enough for you. Why is everyone else fine but you're not? If you strictly follow my rules, you won't suffer. Everyone else? Who was everyone else? Who could stand up and show me so I'd know I wasn't the only one starving? I was so hungry. I thought. Surely a part-time job would be more than $600 a month. So I went and got a part-time job. I'd do anything for money. I ran errands. Picked up packages for people. I could carry any weight of package. I carried 40 pounds of cat litter up to the 5th floor. And petted the owner's cat along the way. On weekends, I danced in a mascot costume at a mall downtown. It was 86 degrees Fahrenheit. And I danced all afternoon. In the evening, I cooked rice noodles at the rice noodle stall in the cafeteria and got a free bowl of rice noodles. Damn. It was delicious. It really was more than $600. I drank mango sago. Something I'd never had before. I loved the $4 lemonade, cheap, large, and tasty. I had McDonald's breakfast for the first time. The Egg McMuffin was so much better than a bun. I still didn't dare go to dessert shops. Desserts costing $20 or $30 were still sky-high prices for me. But I had to try the velvet cake that was $10 a pound. Buy one get half a pound free. From the street vendor. To hell with check-ins. I threw everything to the back of my mind. Thinking only of making money. That month was so exhausting. But I ate so well. Looking back now. It was such a warm time. Full of the aroma of food. My belly was full. And my mind wasn't sad at all. But good times never last. I consistently refused to check in. My mom suddenly showed up at school without warning and went straight to my advisor. She cried. Saying I had gone bad. Asking the advisor if I had run off with a man. If I had secretly dropped out. She made a scene for a long time. Asking many bizarre questions and saying a lot of nonsensical things. She even went to my dorm room and questioned my roommates suspiciously. Even insulting and cursing at them. My advisor told me to come back to school quickly. At that moment, I was wearing a mascot costume. Handing out flyers in front of a phone store. I rushed back after getting the call. Drenched in sweat. The moment my mom saw me, she slapped me. I don't want to remember how that day ended. All I know is that after that day, I was once again a whipped donkey. With the reins of allowance tightened around my neck. For $20. I was neither human nor ghost. Just wanting a full meal. The next morning, I woke up in pain. My lower abdomen was cramping. My head was spinning. And when I reached down, my hand was covered in blood. My period had started. I forced myself to crawl down and search for sanitary pads. I couldn't find any. So I borrowed a pad from my roommate, Jane, and put it on. I stumbled to wash my pants and sheets. I messaged my mom, "Mom, my period started. But I don't have any sanitary pads. Can you give me my allowance? Even if it's tomorrow's in advance. I can't go out like this." She replied. "Your period isn't due for another 4 days. You've learned to lie." Using such a clumsy excuse to trick money out of me. I truly felt like killing someone. She was a woman too. Didn't she know periods could come early or late? Her period was as consistent as an alarm clock. Following a strict schedule. I couldn't understand. I really couldn't understand. My family wasn't poor. Yet I was reduced to groveling and begging her for money to buy sanitary pads. Why? I took pictures of my blood-stained sheets and underwear to prove I wasn't lying. She quickly replied. "Who knows if that's your roommate's stuff? You're just taking pictures to cheat money." I was truly desperate. Penniless. Couldn't afford food. Couldn't afford sanitary pads. One of my 3 roommates was in the hospital. Another had already left. Only Jane remained. And she was about to leave. I quickly called out to her. "Can I borrow a pack of sanitary pads?" "Thank you. I'll return them tomorrow." She rummaged through her cabinet but couldn't find a full pack. Only a single ultra-thin daily pad. "This is all that's left. Don't worry about returning it. I'm going to be late. Gotta go." My mom was rushing me to leave for the library check-in. I had no classes today. So according to the guidelines, I needed to check in every hour. It was the first day of my period. And the flow was extremely heavy. 1 ultra-thin daily pad wouldn't be enough at all. If I sat in the library all day, my pants would definitely get stained. And even the library chair would be ruined. And I was in so much pain. I explained the situation. She replied, "Can't cheat money. And now you want to skip studying? You're really disobedient." I weakly put down my phone. Let her say whatever she wanted. In the end, I didn't go to the library. Afraid of leaking. I didn't dare to lie down or sit. I could only stand. But I was really in pain. Even after taking painkillers, it still hurt. My head was spinning. And all I wanted to do was sleep. After standing for 2 hours, Jane returned. She pulled out 2 packs of extra-long overnight pads and a pack of period panties from her bag and tossed them onto my desk. "Take them. Don't bother returning them. I know you can't afford to." I knew when my mom came and made a scene. She had been verbally abusive towards Jane, saying she looked like a bad kid and must have led me astray, cursing her without reason. Since then, Jane and I hadn't been on good terms. But at this moment, she rescued me from my predicament. I hadn't even had a chance to thank her before she put on her headphones and started watching a show. But I still said thank you. Loudly. She lifted her eyelids. I didn't know if she heard me. I changed into the period panties and finally got some proper rest. I slept like a log until 2 p.m. When I woke up, I picked up my phone. My mom had called me countless times. But my phone was on silent. So I hadn't heard any of them. Her last message read, "No check-in today. So you won't have allowance tomorrow either." I hadn't eaten all day. And now I knew I wouldn't eat tomorrow either. Huh. I was so numb I didn't have the energy to argue. Maybe if I starved to death, I'd be free. But hunger. It was truly unbearable. My stomach felt empty. My gut was empty. My whole being was empty. So empty it made me panic. Even my brain was empty. Too empty to think. All I could think about was food. How could I go to the library to study in this state? How could I memorize vocabulary? I tried hard to study every day. But my grades plummeted. No one knew why. I knew why. I wasn't eating enough. My mind could only think about food. I couldn't think about studying at all. My brain wouldn't function. Check in? What's the point? If I starve to death, maybe I can reincarnate. Next life. I want to be a cat on campus. Everyone who passes by will feed me. I'll never have to worry about being hungry. I felt like I was drifting into a light hallucination. I wasn't clear-headed for long before I fell asleep again. This time, I slept until 3:30 a.m. the next morning. When I woke up, The hunger attacked me again. Confucius said, "A gentleman eats without seeking to be full, and lives without seeking comfort." Unfortunately, I was no gentleman. To eat my fill and eat well was my most basic desire. My mind began to drift, thinking of ways to get money. For a moment, I even thought about taking out an online loan. I even filled out the information, my finger hovering over the confirm loan button. If I just pressed it, if I just moved my finger, I'd have money to eat. But before I clicked, I remembered an influencer who talked about people taking out online loans, then using new loans to pay off old ones, eventually accumulating tens of thousands of dollars and ruining their lives. This influencer temporarily pushed food out of my mind, occupying some space. His voice echoed in my head, "Don't take out online loans. Don't take out online loans." How many times have I said it? Don't take out online loans. Online loans will ruin my life. What could allow me to briefly escape my current situation without ruining my future life? I uninstalled the online loan app and sent a text to a number. "You once told me that some rich men help female college students. Do you think I'd be chosen, given my circumstances? Is that true?" The moment I sent the message, my thoughts were simple. Online loans might snowball and never be repaid. But if I became a rich man's mistress, I could at least break up with him later when I had the means to buy myself plenty of food. I didn't know whether taking out an online loan or being a kept woman was more noble or more hateful. Maybe they were both the same. Anyway, my life was already a mess, so it could get a little messier. As long as I had food, even if it was a mess, it would be a fragrant mess. I started calculating in my head. Being a kept woman meant being at someone's mercy. Begging for food from my mom also meant being at someone's mercy. Both were demeaning. But a rich man wouldn't just give me $600 a month. Would he? Asking a rich man for money was undignified. And asking my mom for money was also undignified. Both were undignified. But with a rich man, I'd only be undignified for a few days a month. Whereas my mom made me undignified 365 days a year. I was actually comparing my mom to a sugar daddy. Thinking about it, it was almost funny. The number belonged to a senior student, 2 years ahead of me. During that month I worked. I picked up 26 packages for her. Each time, there were many items. The 40 pounds of cat litter was hers. I originally just thought, wow, she's rich. Until she asked me if I was interested in finding a sugar daddy. According to her, many rich men liked female college students. They were culturally impoverished and lived decadent lives. So they liked cultured and pure college students to compliment them. She said I was quite good-looking and didn't really dress up. My long hair was just parted down the middle, behind my ears, with a kind of rustic purity. Coal bosses especially liked this type. I'd definitely be marketable. I refused her suggestion then. At that time, I thought I could eat my fill by working part-time. But times had changed. She quickly contacted me, came to the dorm to pick me up, and even took me out to eat. She treated me to hot pot. I had never eaten hot pot outside before. It was something I only dreamed of eating. After dinner, she did my makeup and took a few pictures, then told me to go back and wait for news. Because of all this, I still didn't check in today. Tonight, my mom said I still wouldn't have allowance tomorrow. But I could get an advance if I checked in on time tomorrow. She also said she knew I was genuinely on my period. But she wanted to teach me a lesson. I'm telling you. You're not a child anymore. You need to understand one thing today. What's right or wrong doesn't matter. If you hadn't meddled, taking your classmate to the hospital, you wouldn't have missed check-in. And you wouldn't have been penniless the next day. Then you wouldn't have missed another day of check-in because you didn't have sanitary pads, leading to you being penniless and foodless today. All of this, everything, happened because you made a wrong decision. Do you understand? From now on, learn to be cautious in your words and actions. Understand what you should and shouldn't do. If you make just one mistake, it will lead to consequences you can't control. Do you understand? I didn't understand. Didn't understand. Didn't understand. But to prevent her from showing up at school again, I resumed my daily check-ins. While surviving on $20 a day, eating the slop from the poverty window, I wondered when my senior would contact me. I really didn't want to eat that bland food anymore. A week later, my senior finally contacted me. She gave me a hotel room number and told me to dress nicely and go directly to knock on the door, saying she had already arranged it. I was a little nervous and asked her, "Won't I get caught in a prostitution bust?" She laughed on the other end of the phone. "What? It's a relationship. Darling. It's consensual. Why would you get caught? Go quickly. Don't keep them waiting too long." With that, she hung up. Although she told me to dress up, I really had nothing to dress up in. I didn't even have any makeup. My mom said only improper women wore makeup. I didn't agree with her, but I couldn't afford it. I also didn't have any nice clothes. All my clothes were chosen by her, or her hand-me-downs, as unfashionable as could be. So I just went as I was. If I got turned down, there was nothing I could do. Maybe I wasn't destined for this easy money. The closer I got to the hotel, the more nervous I became. I couldn't stop sweating. When I actually stood at the room door, I realized I wasn't as bold as I thought. I desperately wanted to run away. I really couldn't do this. Just as I was about to turn and leave, my stomach growled. I was really hungry. The sudden surge of hunger made me press the doorbell. I knew I was overdrawing my future to fill my present. Exhausting the pond to catch all the fish. Drinking poison to quench thirst. Maybe stepping through this door today would fundamentally shift my future. What would my life be like afterward? I couldn't predict. Couldn't control. But even if my future life was spent in a swamp after today, I wanted to be a well-fed ghost. I didn't ask to drink lemonade every day, but at least let me afford sanitary pads. Let me have some dignity in my student life. And let me concentrate on studying after eating my fill. The door opened, and a refined middle-aged man stood there. He looked like a scholar. Not the gold-chained country bumpkin I had imagined. He looked at me strangely. "Who are you looking for? Did you come to the wrong room?" I looked up at the room number and reconfirmed the message from my senior. No mistake. It was 1603. "Aren't you Mr. Chen?" He frowned slightly. "My last name is Chen. But I don't know you. You'd best confirm with your friend again." 2 questions were enough to make the courage I had just mustered retreat. Maybe I wasn't ready. This was a good chance to flee. I was about to turn and leave when his phone rang. Like most middle-aged people, his volume was loud enough for me to hear the voice on the other end. A man on the other end asked him, "Has she arrived? I arranged this for you. Seeing you so lonely all the time. This is your type, right? A female college student. Enjoy yourself." Mr. Chen didn't look happy at all. He chastised the man for being foolish and hung up. A bad start. I was really returned. I couldn't tell if I was relieved or regretful at that moment. All I knew was that it was embarrassing. My cheeks were burning. I lowered my head and turned to leave. She called out to me. "Miss. Wait a moment." I stopped and looked back. She waved me over. "Get your payment QR code ready." I pulled up my QR code. He scanned it. And then my phone had an extra $2. 000. As expected. A rich person giving me $2. 000 was as nonchalant as me giving a beggar 20 cents. This comparison of currency units could only go down to cents. Given my financial situation, if I were to give a beggar $2, I'd have to think about it. You don't look very old. Don't go down the wrong path in the future. Consider this your travel expense. It should be enough for you to spend for a while. Go back to school while it's not too late. My goodness. Generous. Kind-hearted. A rich fool who didn't fancy me. In all respects. A perfect sugar daddy. As he was about to close the door, I desperately clung to the doorframe. "Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen. Please take me on. I really don't ask for much. $2. 000 a month would be enough. I just need money for food. I'm so poor I can't afford to eat. It's okay if you don't fancy me. Consider it a loan. I can write an IOU. I promise to repay you after I graduate and find a job. Please. The price is negotiable. I just need money for food. Is $2. 000 too much? $1. 000 is fine. $800 is fine too." He tried to push my hand away, but always hesitated just before touching me. He tried to force the door shut, but couldn't bring himself to really pinch my fingers. So we were locked in this strange standoff. Other guests walked by, curiously observing us. I had no shame. But he did. So he caved first. "Come in." I was allowed into his room. But he held up his index finger, stopping me from moving further. He only allowed me to stand at the doorway. "Listen. What happened today was a misunderstanding. My friend took liberties. I'm not interested in keeping any female college students. You can find someone else to establish that kind of relationship with. But I am." "You misunderstood. Mr. Chen." I interrupted him. "What I mean is, we don't establish that kind of relationship. We establish I gestured between him and me. A sponsorship relationship. You're not interested in keeping female college students. And I'm not interested in serving old men." I pulled up my sleeve to show him my thin wrist. Blue veins clearly visible. If my skin were pale, it would be even more pitiable. But unfortunately, it wasn't due to malnutrition. All my skin was a dull, waxy yellow. I'm only a little over 80 pounds. Starving dizzy every day. I really have no choice. Can you just consider it sponsoring a needy student? His gaze was suspicious. "Why don't you apply for student aid?" "Because my family isn't poor." "But my family isn't poor." My mom has money but won't give it to me. Based on what I knew of my mom, I believed that even if my family were truly poor, she wouldn't cooperate in getting any proof of poverty. She said nothing, pulled out her QR code, and handed it to me. My phone was very slow. The QR code in the viewfinder was like a slideshow until he grew a little impatient. I finally scanned it successfully and added him as a friend. He immediately put away his phone. $2,000 a month. Send me your transcript at the end of the semester. If your grades are fine, I'll sponsor you until you graduate. Then he looked at his watch. You can leave now. It wasn't even 10 o'clock yet. If I took a taxi, I could still make it back to the dorm. Leaving the hotel, I repeatedly checked my balance. My phone battery was bad. It got hot when the screen was on for too long. A burning sensation came from my palm. Painful. But I couldn't bear to savor it. I stared at the balance, wishing I didn't have to blink. $2,000. Besides paying fees and buying things, I had never held more than $50 in my hand. It was a huge sum of money. Enough for me to eat many full meals. Maybe I could even buy a fitting piece of clothing. I must be like a country bumpkin who suddenly got rich. This day was like a dream. I finally got to eat proper meals. My weight quickly rebounded, gaining 3 pounds in just 1 week. But I still didn't dare to skip check-ins. I was afraid my mom would come to school again and raise hell. Mr. Chen would occasionally meet me for dinner near the university. It really was just dinner. He barely spoke to me. He would eat and leave, not staying a second longer. It was very strange. One time, he treated me to pizza. We ran into my senior at the restaurant. When she saw us together, she thought the arrangement she introduced had worked out and winked at me. That afternoon, I received a message from her. Does your friend seem to like you a lot? Get more out of him. But you're brave. Openly meeting near school. Be careful. Gossip can kill. I didn't know how to explain. So I didn't. Actually, I didn't even know Mr. Chen's first name. He hadn't revealed any personal information. I scrolled through his social media. His background picture was a sunrise over Mount Tai. And his profile picture was a selfie of him with the sunrise. He didn't post frequently. Mostly landscapes. Fishing. Reading. His 2 cats and a dog. And shared voting links. He liked to use emojis like roses, which fit his age. Logically, given his age and status, he should have a wife and children. But I couldn't find a single related post. I was so curious about him. Curiosity is human nature. But every time we met, I kept my distance, not asking a single question. After all, one should be sensible. Especially when getting free meals and money. One should be even more sensible. I once thought we would continue like this, minding our own business, until I graduated. Until one day, at dinner, I received a call from my mom. I hadn't had time to lower the call volume. Rose Jean. It's Wednesday. You don't have classes after 10 a.m. Do you? Estimating the distance between the academic building and the library. You should have reached the library by 10:02 a.m. at the latest. Why didn't you check in? Look at the time now. Do you know why I didn't rush you during all this time? I just wanted to see when you'd realize the problem. When you'd reflect. Are you heartless? Do you not want tomorrow's allowance? If you relax for a moment in life, you'll lose everything. When will you finally understand this? I quickly lowered the volume and checked the time. It was almost 2 p.m. I had come out to have lunch with Mr. Chen around 11 a.m. Because it was hot pot. It took longer. And I completely forgot about checking in. Maybe it was because I had money. So I felt secure. Having my allowance cut no longer threatened me. I just blandly said okay and hung up. Actually, I was used to being yelled at. I was numb to it. And I had learned to let it go in one ear and out the other. My mom had cursed me many times, saying I was like a rolling meatball, showing no shame when facing her admonishments. I thought she was right. I was a rolling meatball. But even a rolling meatball has dignity and doesn't want its embarrassment exposed. I wished Mr. Chen hadn't heard anything, though I knew that was impossible. However, I imagined my expression and tone at that moment must have been incredibly calm and composed. After all, when facing an awkward situation, one always tries to act nonchalant to alleviate some of the embarrassment. Otherwise, how could we meet again? She ate nonchalantly. Now I know your name. You're Rose Jean. Huh? Yes. She hadn't told me her name. And I hadn't told her mine. Which was fair. She probably sensed my awkwardness and intentionally changed the subject. It was quite considerate. I followed her lead. That's not fair. I need to know your name too. He pulled a notebook from his briefcase, wrote something on a piece of paper, and slid it towards me. Chen Jiai. I read it aloud. This name was definitely unique among his generation. The name itself hinted at elegance. It seemed he had never wanted for anything since childhood, which was truly enviable. She asked me in detail about the check-ins. It was the most she had talked to me in all this time. My memory was good, so I didn't hold back and showed her the guidelines directly. She said nothing after reading them. But I hadn't expected her to offer any opinions. And I certainly didn't want to hear anything like poor you. When she was about to leave after dinner, she suddenly brought up something out of the blue. You're too honest. It's just check-ins. You can pre-make them. I didn't react for a moment. Huh? Pre-make? Just take a few more photos in the library, different seats, different angles, different desk setups. As for your clothes, you don't really need to change them. You don't seem to have many outfits anyway. So wearing the same ones is perfectly reasonable. At most, you just change your hairstyle or hair tie. But I need to write commands on paper and hold up a blank sheet. Just Photoshop it. Current Photoshop technology can make things look very real. When it came to recording the world clock upon leaving the library, she just said, when it's time to leave the library, just take a picture. It was truly enlightening. Before college, I didn't even have a smartphone. This one was still my mom's discarded phone, given to me out of her mercy. So the concept of Photoshop hadn't even crossed my mind. After returning to my dorm, I seriously asked my roommates for Photoshop tips and tried simple text editing. It seemed genuinely feasible. With such a good method, I hadn't discovered it earlier. I had been disadvantaged by my lack of experience. After a preliminary familiarity with Photoshop, I opened a browser and searched for Chen Jiai's name. Such a wealthy person. Surely I'd find something? Indeed. He had a Baidu Baike page. He wasn't a nationally renowned billionaire, but he was a prominent entrepreneur in the province, operating textile and clothing factories. His businesses weren't in this city. The first time I met him, he was staying in a hotel, probably on a business trip. The encyclopedia showed his parents were both university professors, which explained why they could give him such a distinctive name in that era. He was also an outstanding alumnus of our university, though he had graduated more than a decade ago. Born in '84, he was certainly not young anymore. Regarding his romantic life, the encyclopedia was silent. Not a single word could be found online. I gathered my courage and, for the first time, proactively messaged her, "Turns out you graduated from our university too." Even a direct senior. Chinjiai didn't reply, which made me nervous, fearing I had said something wrong and upset her, and that she would cut off the sponsorship. I hated myself for being so talkative, for not being able to control my surging curiosity. She never replied to that message. 3 days later, she transferred next month's sponsorship money. Every day, I spent about half an hour pre-making check-in photos. Then attended classes normally. Returned to my dorm to rest. Occasionally bought a small pastry to satisfy my cravings. And sent the check-in photos at the designated time. I used to be a bit of an outcast. I couldn't join my roommates' conversations. Went to the library rain or shine. And lived more frugally than even the neediest students. They all thought I was strange. After my mom made a scene, our relationship got even worse. Since breaking free from the check-ins, I gained weight. Got along better with my roommates. And even my mind became sharper. My study efficiency was actually much higher than when I used to spend all day in the library. When people start living a good life, time seems to fly by. Winter arrived in the blink of an eye. Even my mom noticed I had gained weight. One day, after I sent her photos, she called me and said, "See? I told you if you strictly follow my plan, you'll definitely eat well and be full. Your face is all round. But you still need to control your weight. It's not good for girls to be too fat. When you were in high school, you always stayed around 90 pounds. Didn't you? You should lose some weight. Until you're back to 90 pounds. Your allowance will be cut in half." Even though I no longer relied on her allowance, I was shocked by this impulsive decision. "Mom, do you really think $10 a day is enough to live on in college?" She was very certain. "Your food intake will be cut in half anyway. So why wouldn't half the allowance be enough?" I almost laughed out of anger. Even if my food intake was cut in half, it meant I ate half as much. Not that I could buy half as much. Was I supposed to go to the cafeteria window with my meal card and tell the server, "Auntie, I want half a bun. Half a portion of stir-fried bok choy. Can I pay half price?" Who would sell it to me? Anyway, the allowance cut was finalized. I didn't struggle because I knew her. I knew struggling was useless. At least now. I wouldn't die if she used the allowance to control me. I couldn't imagine how desperate I'd be now if it weren't for Chinjiai's $2,000. No. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have gained weight. I'd probably still be living like a zombie. Checking in every day. About half a month after the allowance cut, I saw my mom downstairs in the dorm building. My 3 roommates and I had just returned from eating hot pot at the cafeteria, chatting and laughing. The moment I saw her, cold sweat instantly broke out on my back. It was like a bucket of cold water poured over my head, chilling my blood. I had never slackened when pre-making check-in photos. I made them very meticulously every day. And my Photoshop skills had improved. She had never found out. Why would she suddenly come here? Why did my roommates also look upset? After all, they had all witnessed what my mom was like. My mom walked up to me and slapped me across the face. My cheek was burning and swollen. Jane reached out and grabbed my mom's sleeve. "Ma'am, is there anything? We can go somewhere quiet to talk. I can take you to an empty classroom." My mom shook her hand off, making Jane stumble. "What are you? Didn't your family teach you not to interrupt adults when they're talking? Such bad manners." I lowered my head and quickly pushed my roommates. "You guys go back first. Don't worry about me. Don't let her involve you." My mom wouldn't let up. "Involve? What do you mean involve?" "I'm telling you. None of your roommates are innocent of being cursed at. I see they're all bad influences. Leading you astray." Before she could say anything more hurtful, I quickly pushed my roommates through the dorm building door. I didn't try to pull my mom away. If I dragged her, she would just keep yelling. And the scene would only get uglier. It was better like this. My mom's tone was icy. I said, "Cutting your allowance in half was a test. I was testing you. Seeing if you really had a problem. If it were before, you'd already be complaining about not having enough money. Now you're not begging for money every day. And your face is getting rounder and rounder. I knew you had a problem." Her focus was on money, not check-ins. She had come here 3 days ago and had been following and observing me. She wanted to see what I did every day. Yesterday, she finally caught me. Yesterday, Shinjai came to see me for dinner. Although we just had dinner and he didn't even speak more than 5 sentences to me. It didn't matter. My mom wouldn't listen to any explanations. "Since you were little, I taught you to be upright, thrifty, and honest. It's not terrible to be poor. But it's terrible to lack ambition. But you, after all my hard work putting you through college, you became someone else's mistress. Is that how I taught you? I might as well die. I'm truly heartbroken. And all those check-ins were lies. You've truly gone bad. If I had known you'd fall so low, I wouldn't have given birth to you." Everyone passing by heard her words. Various gazes fell upon me. I could hear hushed discussions and vaguely saw someone pull out their phone from the corner of my eye. I couldn't see any heartbreak on my mom's face. I could only see glee. The dorm supervisor came out to shoo people away. My mom reluctantly allowed herself to be pulled into the supervisor's office. The moment she entered, she started complaining to the supervisor about how disobedient and bad I was. I saw her with my own eyes. Entering a restaurant with a man old enough to be her father. I never deprived her of food or clothes. My meticulously raised daughter. How could she fall so low? My whole life, I've worked myself to death for her. "Mom." I interrupted her. She glared at me. "How dare you call me that? I don't have a daughter like you. You saw me with that man entering the restaurant yesterday. So why didn't you stop me then? Why didn't you confront that man then and there? Why did you hold it in and wait until today to make a scene downstairs at the dorm?" She paused, then reacted. "You made a mistake yourself. And you have the nerve to question me back? Look at you now. You didn't know what kind of person that man was. So you didn't dare make a scene with him. Because you probably knew how annoying you looked. Right? But here, it's different. 90% of the people coming and going downstairs are female college students who won't meddle. My roommates are all respectable people and care about their reputation. So they can't do anything to you. You're too safe here. And you even got more attention. Now the whole world knows I became a mistress. And you're a poor mother. You're probably really happy. Aren't you? You used cutting my allowance in half to test me. Which proves you also know $300 isn't enough to live on. It would be abnormal if I didn't ask for more money. Even $600 isn't enough. But you don't care at all if I starve to death. Do you? Don't keep saying it's all for me. Actually, you know very well that you don't love me that much. Or rather, you don't love me at all. I spoke in the calmest tone, saying the most rebellious words I had ever said to her in my life. But I felt incredibly relieved. Money was so important. When eating hot pot, drinking lemonade, when my socks had holes and I could finally buy new ones instead of patching them. I only thought money was a good thing. But at this moment, I truly realized how incredibly important money was. $2,000 wasn't a huge sum. But as long as I could afford to eat tomorrow and the day after, I had the confidence to tear off her facade, confront her malice, and tell her, and myself, the truth that she didn't love me at all. My eyes were still on her. But my mind abruptly thought of the day I first sought out Chinjai. That day, I was prepared to lose my virginity. Perhaps what I sought in return was not just a full meal, but the confidence I had long awaited. The confidence to act like this. Her lips twitched. Suddenly, she slapped me across the face again. I think you shouldn't study at all. When you learn how to be a person, then you can go back to school. Withdrawal? You want me to withdraw? My mom rushed off to handle the withdrawal procedures. I returned to my dorm to pack my things, apologizing to each roommate. I'm sorry. I've implicated you again. But she's making me withdraw from school. So she won't be back for a while. My belongings were few and quickly fit into one suitcase. As I was leaving the dorm room, Jane called out to me. Rose Jean. I turned around. Actually, we all know you have a. She carefully chose her words. Boyfriend outside of school. Jessica saw you guys at that skewer place. But we also saw how you were living. So having a boyfriend support you isn't incomprehensible. Right? Anyway, you weren't out late. And your personal hygiene was good. So we didn't say anything. I hastily thanked her and quickly left the room. The moment I closed the door, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. My roommates, whom I had known for less than a year, were willing to protect my dignity. But my mom wanted to trample on it to fulfill herself. My phone rang. My mom sent a message, the procedures are done and submitted. Just waiting for approval. Your dean said I can take you home now. I'm heading downstairs to your building. You wait for me at the entrance. I wiped my tears. Went downstairs. No. I pulled my suitcase and rushed out of the campus gate without looking back. My phone kept ringing. She sent me many messages, threatening that if I didn't go home with her today, she would never acknowledge me as her daughter again. I did what I had always wanted to do but never dared, I blocked her. Before I didn't dare ignore her because I was afraid she'd find me at school. Now, she had personally pulled me out of the school environment. So I had no more qualms. Let her blame me for leaving. Chinjiai and I had known each other for less than 3 months. Including the initial $2,000 travel expense. He had given me a total of $8,000 in sponsorship. I was still quite frugal with my spending and had $4,000 left. I rented a single room for $600 a month. It had no windows and no natural light. Very depressing. But it didn't matter. I worked during the day and didn't need sunlight anyway. I found a job making milk tea. It was exhausting. But I felt very fulfilled every day and had no time to dwell on sad thoughts. I planned to save more money, pay back Chinjiai, and then leave this city. From then on, I would consider myself an orphan. By then, she would have no idea where to find me. North, south, east, or west. About a week later, Chinjiai messaged me to meet for dinner. I was too busy during the day to see it. When I got home after work that evening, I saw the message. I honestly told her that I had withdrawn from school because my mom had come to make a scene. And that I no longer needed her sponsorship. I'm working and will pay you back once I save enough money. Thank you very much for this time. You withdrew from school? What kind of job can you find? Making milk tea? Do you plan to make milk tea for the rest of your life? Are you never going to study again? I wanted to study. I really wanted to study. But to re-enroll, I would need my mom to handle the procedures. If I had to contact her, I'd rather not go to school. I didn't reply. There was no sound from her end either. I lay in bed, drifting off to sleep. Then was suddenly woken by a vibration.